Katie Casey was baseball mad, had the fever and had it bad. Just to root for the hometown crew, every sou, that's a coin, Katie blew. On a Saturday, her young beau called to see if she'd like to go to see a show, but Miss Kate said, no, I'll tell you what you can do. Take me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never come back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out of the old ball game. Katie Casey saw all the games, knew the players by their first names, told the umpire he was wrong all along, good and strong. When the score was just 2-2, Katie Casey knew what to do. Just to cheer up the boys she knew, she made the gang sing this song. Everybody join. Take me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never go back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out for the old ball game.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Stephanie Williams, and I welcome you here to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, a liberal religious community where love works. Where we gather to explore the eternal, to nurture community, and to build a more just world. Together, we dare to embody the beloved community where all are welcome. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, and whatever your gender identity, life circumstance, or immigration status, you are welcome here. A special welcome to those joining our service online, whether in the moment or catching up later. We are glad to have you here with us. If you are new to Cedar Lane, we have a small gift for you. Please raise your hand if you are comfortable doing so, and keep it raised for a moment so our ushers can find you. Let's give our guests, is there any guests? Sorry. Let's give our guests a special welcome. Everyone, please feel free to join us after our service for coffee and conversation in the lounge. And remember, if you use a yellow mug, our Cedar Lane members will be sure to greet you, because here, yellow means hello. Awesome. Good job. We would like to draw your attention to the order of celebration, where you will see a rich variety of opportunities that this vital and engaged religious community participate in. Do I have a copy? Thank you. We have our music notes and August Children Religious Education. Today there is yoga happening, and next week we will have a multi-generational service collaborating with Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. So that's new and exciting. As we move into our time of worship, you are all invited to light a candle at any time throughout the service, signifying a personal joy or sorrow, celebration or concern. You'll find Kathleen Home of the Pastoral Visitors team there after the service for anyone who needs a listening ear of any kind. Our ministers, Reverend Abi and Katie Romano, are on vacation this week and study leave throughout the entire months of July and August. So today, Our service is going to be run by worship associates. Me. This includes me, which again, my name is Stephanie, in case you guys missed in the beginning, Michael Thoryn, and Jared Wilson. Thank you guys for having us and being patient with us. And now let us experience the joyous, loving community that is Cedar Lane. Please rise and greet your neighbors, preferably someone you did not come with.
Okay. It's Mark Burgle.
All right.
Well, I look where, no, I recognized him because he looks exceedingly like my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. And so much so that the first time I saw him, I did a double take.
I'm glad that I noticed. I was like, that looks like
You were good.
Yeah.
I would say you're good too.
I appreciate you recognizing me. That is actually from it. We now come to this house of worship. Spirit calls to spirit. Hand reaches out to hand. Heart joins with heart. Voice lifts voice with the song of praise. And come, let us worship together. Let us, as Len Adler comes up to kindle the chalice, symbol of our free faith and gathered community, please rise in body or in spirit to speak in unison the chalice lighting words printed in your order of celebration. We light this chalice as a symbol of our commitment to our faith. The stable base of our founding holds the growing light of our action. May the flaming chalice call us to purposeful growth, supported by our community and our faith. May it inspire us to build a beloved community that radiates from this place into the world. Please remain as you are for the opening hymn, number 1023, Building Bridges in the Teal Hymnal.
Not a canon, just twice through. So here we go. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
You may be seated. We gather as we always gather in sacred space, a place set aside as a sanctuary amid the many challenges of life. A center which we may gather strength to face these challenges with courage, with grace, with the spirit of justice. In this time of reflection, we lift up those in our community who are living through significant passages, the small and extraordinary milestones of life. We pause to be present to our spiritual companions and to the concern of our own hearts. May all who gather here be held in the embrace of this community of care. When I lift up my arms as such, I invite you to say, "We hold you in our hearts." If you are living through the small and extraordinary milestones of life, we hold you in our hearts. If parenting is your spiritual practice, we hold you in our hearts. If you live with or care for someone with grief or chronic pain, we hold you in our hearts. If you or someone you know is struggling with illnesses seen and unseen, with mental illnesses or addiction, we hold you in our hearts. If you have suffered abuse or injustice, we hold you in our hearts. This week we celebrate with Candace, Dave, Katie, and Megan Haga as they are delighted to welcome a fifth new baby this year to their extended family, Adelaide Ruth Parker. Welcome, baby Adelaide. We hold you in our hearts. And claps, yeah, that's good. We also share the sad news of the passing of beloved longtime Cedar Lane member John Wing on July 25th. We hold wife Barbara Wing, daughter Kate Simon, and sister-in-law Pat Carlson, and the rest of the family in our thoughts and prayers. Calls and cards are appreciated. A celebration of life will be scheduled at a later date. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by violence and calamities in our world. This week, we sit with the heavy news of gun violence in Dayton and El Paso, along with other victims throughout the rest of the country, and put out loving thoughts to the 680 people who were impacted directly from the ICE raid in Mississippi and their friends and family as well as a result of immigration policy. For these friends of ours and for all of the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken in our hearts, let us turn to the peace and solace of prayer, first in words, and then through the stillness that silence brings.
This is from a sermon by another minister, the Reverend Anthony David, titled Sport and the Spirit. But if the life of the Spirit is about anything, it is about transformation. It is about entering into interior grace, despite what seems stubbornly real in the external world. Our greatest progress as people happens not when our visions and dreams are fulfilled easily, or even fulfilled at all, but rather when they are disrupted or denied. And yet, we find ourselves taking that next step and the next, and we are met each time with something that sustains us and helps us keep going until we live into a new truth about ourselves, a larger sense of possibility. And now, during this silence, those grieving a loss or commemorating the anniversary of a loss are invited to rise in mourning and memory. Let us enter the silence together. Flowing in My Soul, hymn number 1007 in the Teal hymnal.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Doris Kearns Goodwin, best known for writing Team of Rivals about some of the men who served in President Lincoln's Civil War cabinet from 1861 to 1865, is also a fan of baseball. In her memoir, Wait Till Next Year, set in the suburbs of New York in the 1950s, she talks about how her father's love of baseball was passed on to Doris, his youngest daughter, and how the family's love of the Brooklyn Dodgers shaped her childhood. In this reading, all of the names are prominent players of the era. I opened the curtain and entered the confessional, a dark wooden booth built into the side wall of the church. As I knelt on the small worn bench, I could hear a boy's halting confession through the wall, his prescribed penance inaudible as the panel slid open on my side and the priest directed his attention to me. "Yes, my child," he inquired softly. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confession." "Yes, my child, and what sins have you committed?" "I talked in church 20 times. I disobeyed my mother 5 times. I wished harm to others several times. I told a fib 3 times. I talked back to my teacher twice. I held my breath. And to whom did you wish harm?" My scheme had failed. He had picked out the one group of sins that most troubled me. Speaking as softly as I could, I made my admission. I wished harm to Allie Reynolds. "The Yankee pitcher?" he asked, surprise and concern in his voice. "And how did you wish to harm him?" "I wanted him to break his arm." "And how often did you make this wish?" "Every night," I admitted, "before going to bed, in my prayers." "And were there others?" "Oh, yes," I admitted. "I wished that Robin Roberts of the Phillies would fall down the steps of his stoop, and that Richie Ashburn would break his hand. Is there anything else?" "I wish that Enos Slaughter of the Cards would break his ankle, that Phil Rizzuto of the Yanks would fracture a rib, and that Alvin Dark of the Giants would hurt his knee. But I hasten to add, I wish that all these injuries would go away once the baseball season ended." "Are there any other sins, my child?" "No, Father." "For your penance, say 2 Hail Marys, 3 Our Fathers, and," he added with a chuckle, "say a special prayer for the Dodgers."
Forgot the act of contrition.
Can I pray for victory? That's it. Let's go blue. Will praying and wearing dirty underwear help your team win the big game? According to a 2014 survey by the Public Religion Research Institute, fans have plenty of faith when it comes to sports. Nearly half of sports fans see some aspect of the supernatural in sports, meaning they either pray to God to help their team, have thought their team was cursed at some point in time, or believe that God plays a role in determining the outcome. 1/4 of football fans perform a pregame or game time ritual, such as wearing dirty underwear or sitting in a certain chair every time. Not me. So can I pray for victory? It's tricky. Before praying, if praying is an option for you, step back and say something like, "This matters to me, but does it really matter, cosmically speaking?" If the answer is no, then the prayer is likely to be selfish, and God, or a divine being, or a magical spirit, is much less likely to answer. As a strong but not deranged fan of University of Michigan sports, I am tempted to pray for victory, but I resist. On September 24, 1994, I watched on television in my living room as Colorado tried a Hail Mary pass against Michigan, my alma mater, at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. In the Catholic tradition, the Hail Mary is a prayer asking for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Mother of Jesus. It begins, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee." In American football, a Hail Mary is a very long forward pass, typically made in desperation, with only a small chance of success and with time running out. Colorado trailed Michigan 26-21 with 6 seconds left when Cordell Stewart, the Colorado quarterback, heaved the ball more than 70 yards in the air into the end zone. The ball was deflected before ending up in the arms of wide receiver Michael Westbrook for the touchdown that gave Colorado a 27-26 win. The play is known by Colorado partisans as the miracle at Michigan. To me, it was a very bad day. But football is a game, a diversion, and a leisure time activity. I hope for Michigan victories, hope for a well-played game, and I am looking forward to Michigan football's new season, which starts 20 days and 9 hours from now. Please rise in body and or in spirit and join us in hymn number 128 in your gray hymnal, "For All That Is Our Life."
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life as a gift, which we are called to use toward their common good, and make our own days glad.
Please be seated. So, as you can see from what I'm wearing, I am a sports fan, but don't be alarmed. In Pittsburgh terms, I'm here in my Sunday finest. Sunday is Pittsburgh Steelers football, where I come from. But not everyone wears a jersey and a cap to Sunday worship, and so early in my time at Cedar Lane, I was asked by a fellow attendee, is that a football thing? I like to discuss and share my interests as much as anyone, so I said, yes, it is. Pittsburgh Steelers, yes. Well, the person to whom I was speaking then replied with, oh, I just think that's totally barbaric. Well, I was stunned. I mean, the conversation was over at that point, and as I left and my brain began to re-engage, I thought to myself, must be a Ravens fan. But that conversation has stuck with me, not in a how dare you insult the thing I like way, but out of a sense of confusion and a desire to make myself understood. How could I explain what I love about football and sport in general to someone who's never played the game, doesn't watch the broadcasts, and certainly doesn't share this fashion sense? And I thought, well, what do we two strangers have in common? Well, we both come to Cedar Lane. Even if nothing else, we both come here and engage in worship. So, could I explain my love of sports in a way that suits the context of our shared experience, namely Cedar Lane? The other person in that conversation was right, about football. It is barbaric, or at least it has a barbaric, physical, competitive component. There's no denying that. But if there weren't something more to sport, something that speaks to a broad cross-section of humanity, it wouldn't be the global phenomenon that it is. After all, I'm not the only Unitarian Universalist sport fan. We've heard from my fellow celebrants here today, and I had no idea there was such a Michigan representation here at Cedar Lane. Our own senior minister enjoys cricket when he gets the chance to. And for those who enjoy a glimpse into the history of our church, the Reverend Francis Greenwood Peabody wrote on ethics and was a foundational figure in the sport that would eventually evolve into American football. So, what does sport offer me, and potentially us, beyond base brutality? Where do the qualities of sport fandom and liberal religious community intersect? I know that for some, likening sport to religious experience borders on the sacrilegious. We've heard about the Hail Mary, and Pittsburgh sports history celebrates a football play called the Immaculate Reception. But bear with me, because in my opinion, the best parts of sports and religion are closer than one might think. Now, when I think back, I did play football in high school, and when I look back on those days, it's not the win-loss records that I remember, thank goodness. No one player wins or loses a football game by themselves, and so competition wasn't my reason for being there, any more than it is my reason for being here. You don't win or lose at church, at least not when you're a Unitarian Universalist. I can't speak for everyone. I know that it's cliched, but for me, sport isn't just about whether you win or lose. After all, statistically speaking, half of the competitors will always lose. No, for me, the how you play part of that meant more than winning. It means sportsmanship, yes, but it's also the process of playing, which has two main components in my mind: the work and the team. Succeeding at football takes a lot of work, both physical and mental. You have to practice, you have to lift the weights, you have to push the blocking sled, you have to run the route. You have to study the plays. You have to know where you need to be in each phase of the game. You have to take the hit. You have to get knocked down. You have to get up again. You have to keep trying. Doing that work, showing up and being present and trying your hardest, that in football gave me a lift that no easy task in life can. It was beyond an endorphin rush. It was a sense of self-esteem at a time when I needed one. I see this experience reflected in the work that we do as Unitarian Universalists. We have to struggle with our own spirituality to make sense of our personal beliefs. Knowing oneself is an active process, and it takes effort, if not physical, then mental and emotional. After all, we don't call it spiritual practice for nothing. And in the wider world, outside ourselves, we engage in struggles for social justice, LGBTQIA+ and gender justice, environmental justice, immigrant justice, racial justice. Working for social justice is just that. It is work. You have to work. You have to push with everything you've got. You get knocked down and you get back up. We make Cedar Lane a place where love, thank you. We already have that love, and this is a place where we come to train, to work. But as I said before, one player working alone can't win a game. Even athletes who compete in individual sports don't generally train in isolation. There's always a team. Now, my team in high school was not a big group of friends off the field as well as on. We took different classes. We moved in different social circles. We had different activities. But even within the team, we had differences from one another. We played different positions. We had different abilities. Some players were really gifted. Some players were not as gifted. But the sport and the effort, the work, bound us together in a way that I wouldn't have thought possible before playing. In the huddle, in the locker room, when we would join in a team prayer, taking a knee to pray for sportsmanship and safety and not for victory, I was a part of something, not alone. And even now, though I'm certainly not in the locker room or the huddle, they would give me this stuff for free if I were. I have the superficial marks of my team. The iconography, the fight songs, the shared history of a group of fans that can connect me to complete strangers. So, are we here at Cedar Lane a team? Well, we don't have a massive line of merchandise, but we do have our logos. We have the chalice, the flame. We have our words. But we don't do the same things outside these walls, but when we are here, we speak our words together. We sing our hymns together. We come to this sanctuary with common purpose for Sunday worship, for RE, for any of the many groups, events, and yes, teams that we engage in. The team that we have here is one that multiplies the work that we put in. We're bound together by what we share here, and through this community, we bind ourselves to others around the world, past, present, and future. But it's so much better than sport fandom watching from afar. We're not just fans of this team. We are the fans, the players, and the coaches all in one. When we join a sharing circle, when we become a sanctuary volunteer, when we join one of the teams that make Sunday services happen, we connect and engage and become more a team. So, in true Pittsburgh spirit, we're going to make this team happen today. And I would like, on the count of 3, I would like you all to say Cedar Lane with me. You ready? 1, 2, 3, Cedar Lane. Sorry, what was that? Try it again. 1, 2, 3. Cedar Lane! Thank you.
So the offering is an invitation to demonstrate willingly a commitment to the mission and ministry of our congregation and the common values expressed in Unitarian Universalist principles. Our offering reminds us that our congregation belongs to us, each of us, as well as the whole team of us. It is an extension of our gratitude for our spiritual home, where we are invited to be who we are, as we are, and to live lives of joy, hope, integrity, and service. Today, we share the plate with a wider circle. Please welcome the founder and president of a wider circle, Mark Berger.
Thank you. I just wanted to tell you how great that was to listen to that. As a Bears fan, I still appreciated it. And as a long-suffering Northwestern fan, we've been beaten by Michigan quite a bit. But, you know, I come here, I think almost once a year. You guys are that generous and that kind-hearted, and the fight we fight to help people get out of poverty is still that difficult for them. Despite the apocryphal stories you might read about success in people gaining employment or people rising out of poverty, it just isn't so. We still get 600 calls a day at a wider circle, many from those who need assistance just getting their homes furnished. Right in a region with such abundance, we still meet family after family after family that has nothing. And so your support means a great deal to us. We are also working in neighborhoods, and I can just give you a quick update that our work now is working with developers, large developers, who are tasked with redeveloping parts of this region and parts of Washington, D.C., and we are partnering with them in a way that says zero displacement. All you have to do is build first, and then we will take care of the human capital piece of that. So many large developers who have their eyes on the riches of redeveloping land are working with us to say, before we do any of that, we'll make sure that people who already live here, people who are low income, can stay. That is a big challenge. That is a huge challenge, I will tell you, but that is some of the work we are doing. And of course, I saw Stu Grubman when I walked in, and he was saying, gosh, it's still so difficult, still so much need. And I said, yes, there is, but if we can work on systemic change, and that's what we are doing, systemic change. So in other words, in Montgomery County today, if you look at the statistics, they'll tell you that 76,000 people live below the poverty line in Montgomery County. 76,000 people are in poverty. I would tell you that that means nothing, because the poverty line for a family of four, for example, is 25,750, right, which is nowhere near what you need to be independent, to be free in this county. If you were to count it, and the wider circle is redoing this, and we will offer a recount of how we measure poverty. And if you do that, and we have kind of put these income standards to this, you will find out there are 242,000 people in Montgomery County who are not economically independent, not free to live day to day without assistance. 242,000, almost 25% of our county. So the work is significant, and your compassion and your heart and your love, I hope, will work. And I thank you for letting us be a part of your community. Thank you very much.
The ushers will now come forward with the collection plates, and if you would like to text your gift, you may do so by texting CLUUC and a dollar amount to the number 73256. That is 73256. The offering to sustain the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane and a wider circle will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. Join me. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. Let's get together and feel all right. Let them all pass all their dirty remarks. There is one question I'd really love to ask. Is there a place for the hopeless sinner? It's hurt all mankind just to save his own. Believe me, one love. I'd really love to ask, is there a place for the hopeless sinner who's hurt all mankind just to save his own? We're singing one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Talking about one love, yeah, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
For the gifts we have received and for the gifts that we are, we give thanks to the spirit of generosity and the courage and compassion that may be made manifest by these gestures of faith. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment, in your teal hymnal.
Light of days remembered burns on beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and heart and spirits into faith set freedom here. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of that flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of that flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Please remain as you are for the closing words. If you are proud of this community, become its advocate. If its values resonate deep within you, give it a measure of your devotion. If you are concerned for its future, share some of your time with the children. This community cannot survive without your faith, your participation, your confidence, your enthusiasm. Nor can it survive without children, for they are the future of this religious community. This community's destiny, its future, lies in our hands. Let's make it real. And please be seated for the postlude.